If you look back at my most popular video, you will remember I made a video about the details of what is inside Toma's right arm. And while I'm glad it was successful, I don't like the video. It wasn't scripted, my editing sucked completely back then, as I was using a tablet, not a computer, and I rushed the video to get it out on time for the Railgun T episode where the dragons appear. So, if I made that video higher quality, I'm convinced I could have gotten even more views or subscribers from it, so that's why I say I don't like it even though it was so successful. So to compensate for that, I have decided to make a video similar to that one, but focusing solely on Imagine Breaker. None of that dragon or invisible thing bullshit, just plain old Imagine Breaker. So, what is Imagine Breaker? Well, this video will have spoilers from New Testament, obviously, so past the anime where Index 3 left off. So obviously you don't want to watch if you don't like spoilers. Luckily we know a lot more about Imagine Breaker than we did, say, 5 years ago, so this won't be just a clickbait theory video. I will present the hard facts of what Imagine Breaker is first, that has been confirmed so far, and then afterwards I have a tiny little theory about Imagine Breaker which is basically more details about it, so hopefully you will find that interesting. Anyway, let us begin. If you are somehow unaware, Imagine Breaker is the mysterious and special ability located in the right hand of the main protagonist, Kamijo Toma. It has the power to negate any supernatural power, whether it be magic or science related, with few exceptions. It is also stated to be able to negate the blessings of God, and even the red string of fate. So Imagine Breaker is not an Esper power, nor a magic ability. However, it is closely connected to the magic side. The counterpart of Imagine Breaker, Will Rejector, was actually subconsciously created by the magic gods. This also implies Imagine Breaker was created in a similar way or the same way. This makes more sense due to the fact that Imagine Breaker represents the hopes and dreams of magicians. But what does that even mean? How does it represent the dreams of magicians when it is so effective at negating magic, or being an anti-magical weapon in a way? It makes no sense! Well, actually, Imagine Breaker is connected to the original world, or the original phase of the universe, known as the Pure World, that existed before even magic. Magicians can freely distort the world around them, as Imagine Breaker is the lifeline to revert everything to how it originally was, without supernatural phenomena. So it justifies the use of magic by magicians without too much concern of the magicians by ruining the world around them with their magic. They always have that lifeline in the form of Imagine Breaker to change everything before they fucked it up, basically. But it also represents the fear of all magicians too, as it destroys magic and negates fate itself. As revealed later in the novels, due to the countless phases or layers of reality that cover the universe, the supernatural phenomena as a result of magic cause the phases to interfere with each other, making all events predetermined or fated. And Imagine Breaker has the ability to nullify this side effect of magic. Only beings such as magic gods or Iwas can actually create phases, but magic gods are incapable of destroying or reverting phases. They can only add new layers of reality to overlap upon the world or universe. But by using Imagine Breaker like how Ophinus wanted to, or at the end of her arc, where she restored Toma's phase, the world we're all familiar with in a certain magical index, it's possible to use Imagine Breaker to restore any previous phase, or even revert the world back to the pure world beyond phases. Because of Imagine Breaker's connection to the pure world, it also means it is heavily connected to the science side in addition to the magic side. The pure world is called pure simply because of the absence of magic entirely. It is therefore unsurprising then why Aleister Crowley needed Imagine Breaker so badly for his plan, as he wished to restore the pure world in order to end predeterminism of the world caused by the phases, so that people can live accordingly to their own desires and everyone having equal opportunities in life, free of fate and destiny. By using Imagine Breaker in conjunction with Aiwa's, Aleister hoped to destroy the phases using Aiwa's as an avatar and then using Imagine Breaker to restore the pure world or keep it intact. Imagine Breaker has likely existed in most points in history, and it transfers itself to another person or object if the wielder, owner, or host dies. This was likely why Imagine Breaker disappeared when Samuel Mathers was killed by Aleister, as Mathers was the owner of Imagine Breaker at that point in time, even though Aleister did steal it from the temple. Imagine Breaker supposedly has a form of a conscience and decides who would be the best host to wield it. Before Imagine Breaker found itself within Toma, it used to be the right hand of an unknown saint. Then it was later discovered by Mathers and was stored in the Isis Urania temple of the Golden Dawn, referred to as the Treasure of Blythe Road, which hints at its power and importance to the Cabal. At this point in time, the year 1900 to be exact, Imagine Breaker took the form of an arrow with a tip shaped like a hand, and during the Battle of Blythe Road in the same year, Aleister stole the arrow for himself and used it to kill both Westcott and Mathers. When it disappeared though, Aleister knew he had to find a way to track down Imagine Breaker to use for his plans, as he was unsure where or when it would reappear in the world. So Aleister built Academy City as a way to attract Imagine Breaker to him almost 50 years after the events of Blythe Road when he first formed the city. Imagine Breaker is also heavily implied to be acting as a seal for the powers within Toma's right arm, but I won't be discussing those powers in this video like I already said. Now, onto my theory about Imagine Breaker that you might find interesting. So, we know that Imagine Breaker was once in the body of a saint, but that saint was never named, which is peculiar. I believe the saint it belonged to was in fact Christian Rosenkreuz. While Rosenkreuz was not exactly a saint, I know, he was considered to have been either Saint Lazarus or Saint John in his previous life, which would then make the theory more plausible. But why Rosenkreuz? Just because right now in the novels we are getting a lot of Rosicrucian references doesn't necessarily mean that Imagine Breaker is also related to that. Well, if you remember back to the Battle of Blythe Road and the Isis Urania temple, inside the vault of the temple in Index was the arrow, right? As it was the treasure of the Golden Dawn. But the Battle of Blythe Road was also a real event, but very different to the version we see in Index, as the real battle, well, it wasn't really a battle to begin with, it was more a confrontation between Aleister and the famous Irish poet W.B. Yeats, who was also a member of the Golden Dawn. And inside the vault was not the arrow, but allegedly the tomb of Christian Rosenkreuz, which Aleister was tasked by Mathers to steal by breaking into the temple. But in New Testament 18, it is referred to as an armory instead of a vault, nevertheless. Rosenkreuz is not mentioned at all during the volume, which I find kinda interesting that Kamachi would decide not to, considering the later importance of the Rosicrucians, or Kamachi simply wanted to cut Rosenkreuz out of the volume, as he did change a lot of the history behind the Battle of Blythe Road considerably. So what do you think about my theory? I still think we have plenty of information about Imagine Breaker now, so it's much clearer to be able to understand what it actually is. Although, with the powers inside it, we just seem to get more questions instead of answers, so I pray to God we get some answers soon in Genesis Testament. Anyway, thank you for watching, and please remember to subscribe if you haven't already, if you are into Index or Railgun, as I upload regularly about the series, so sub if you haven't already, that helps out my channel massively. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.